Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening if you're watching this replay. Welcome to my LinkedIn Live series that I'm kicking off today called Coffee with a Candidate. If we haven't met yet, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Kelly Merbler, and I'm coming to you live from my home office here. This is where all the magic happens at the Kelly Merbler Company here in Wellington, Florida. And I've got my coffee in hand. And I have a very special series I'm kicking off today. So if you are just joining in the live stream, let me know that you're here. Put a comment in there where you're coming in from, and would love to welcome you. So first and foremost, I want to start off with the why behind why I'm doing this series. And for those of you that know me, know that I spent 21 years in a recruiting role, helping people find jobs all over the state of Florida and all over the country at some times. And I really had a passion for identifying talent and helping talent find a great place where they could shine and be their true authentic selves. And I've been thinking a lot of you know that I host Coffee with Kelly twice a week on Mondays and Fridays from 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern time on Zoom. And we have built a huge tribe of a little over 400 people now at this point. And in that tribe of Coffee with Kelly, we have a lot of different people that come in and are part of that tribe, from hiring managers to entrepreneurs to executives, C-suite leaders, to people that are in transition and maybe were affected by COVID, or maybe just made a decision that they wanted to make a change in their life and look for a new position. And I'm proud to say that since Coffee with Kelly started back in March of 2020, the tribe, and it's not me, it's the tribe, we have through our network been able to put over 70 people to work based on the connections that we all have, and really helping those connections get out of the ATS system that can be so frustrating at times and just so dehumanizing at times. So I've been thinking a lot about this, and some people say, I don't know where you find the time, but this is what I say, and I'm going to start it with a quote that I wrote. If you're going to start a movement, you have to be the one to make the first move. And I have a heart for job seekers that are out there. And if I have a network that I know that is supportive and is willing to help, which I know I'm surrounded by wonderful people out there, I want to give back to these job seekers that are out there trying to find the right place to call home. And we've met some amazing people at Coffee with Kelly that just truly stand out and truly are servant leaders that deserve to find a place that they can give and be their true authentic selves and add value to an organization. So I'm starting today with my very first guest, and I can't wait to bring him in just a moment, but there will be more coming in the future, so I hope you enjoy this. But what I'd like to do is give you a view and perspective from a job seeker's eyes. And what is it like that they're feeling through this transition of not having a job and going through the interview process? And what are some tips that they can share with you to help you, maybe if you're looking for a search? And I want to also highlight this person, Todd Rogers, because I really admire him. I think he's a wonderful leader. I believe that he will make a great asset to an organization in a human resources executive role. And I want to share him and the world with all of you because I think he needs to be seen. So allow me to bring Todd in and welcome Todd. So Todd, good morning and welcome to Coffee with a Candidate.
Good morning, Kelly. Thank you so much for having me. Very kind words. Thank you.
You're so welcome. And Todd and I met, he actually was referred by one of my good friends, Nicole Adamson. If you know Nicole, give her a shout out. She's an amazing human being and leader. But Nicole had referred Todd to Coffee with Kelly. And a few months ago, we welcomed him into the tribe with open arms. And right from the start, what I loved about Todd was he just put himself out there and asked how he could help other people in the tribe that were in job transition. He didn't ask anything for himself. He just said, how can I help you and how can I give back? And this is someone that's in transition himself, but I love that he put others first. And the more I got to know about Todd and the more he came into Coffee with Kelly and kind of shared his story and his experiences, I was like, this is someone that I think needs to be seen. And so, Todd, I want to give you some time here to share with whoever is watching out there, but we've got quite a few people out here looking and watching. So a lot of the tribe members are there saying hi to you. I see Dahlia, Shelley, Donnie, Fadia, wonderful crew that's out there supporting you, Todd. But you had a very successful career as a vice president and executive in human resources. And now you are on the other side of looking for work through your own decision. That's what you wanted to do. And I'd like to kind of share a little bit through your perspective of what that is like to be on the other side of the fence and what you're learning through this process and what you're looking for, Todd. Like, let's share a little bit about you. So Todd, come on in.
Sure. Thank you. So first, I just want to at least start off by letting everyone know, if they don't know you already, what an amazing person you are, and very giving, and you are a great leader. And there was a particular quote I mentioned to you the other day that I know I butchered it and don't even know how to say it, but something to the effect, when you walk into a room, a true leader doesn't tell you they're the leader. You know they're the leader because they're making you feel fantastic and making you feel the most important person in the room. And it just doesn't need to be said. And when you're made to feel good by the people around you and the leader around you, those are the people you want to help, work hard for, and achieve great. On a high performing team, you want those great results. So thank you, first of all. Secondly, it has been an amazing time for me, good and bad. But it is true, about 6 months ago, I made a decision to leave a good job, a good company, good job. And I don't think my experience is that unique from a lot of people out there. And the more I've been involved with your Coffee with Kelly group and other groups that I've joined, COVID and other stuff has really worn on people, and we'll probably see effects for a long time. So with that being said, there is no one reason why I left the organization I left. It was a culmination of many things. I became the Dr. Fauci of Kaufman Lynn. And it was a tough role. We had a large team taking care of that. But with COVID, my own family situation of my wife trying to do her own company and her own thing, she wound up becoming the chief educational officer in the house with our son going to school from home, which again is no different than anyone else. And I recognize that, I live in a great neighborhood, great community, have done well in life, and have great resources. And we're still having challenges in what I would consider a normal life. And I made a decision. I said, you know what? It's never the right time, but I'm never going to have a time like this to be at home. My wife is at home and my son is at home. And I think family comes first. And before you can make your career right, you have to make your family right. And not that there's anything medically or certifiably wrong with them. It's just, that your family needs a little recalibration. So I left the company in good hands. The young lady that got promoted to director before I left is fantastic. I love her to death, and I still talk to her today. And I left some really good people. And that's what I'm looking for, to go work for an organization that values their people, that has a very strong mission, values, and they live by them. And human resources, if they are sitting at the table and are truly being collaborated with on business decisions, not just planning a party, not just, hey, we need to lay off these people or hire these people, but true business decisions to help with workforce planning and building an organization. And I can be behind what they do and resonates with me and feel good about it. That's fantastic. And that's, that at the end of the day is what I'm looking for. I don't need to be the top HR person. I think it depends on the size of the organization and what I'm doing. But I, like many people, don't want to sit home. And I know there's been lots of discussion about the folks out there that are getting the additional unemployment insurance and feel that that's preventing people from working. I don't know, because I've dealt with workers' comp and leaves for years. The average person does not want to sit home and just collect money. They want to be productive and work. And so that was my unique universal. I look at my own scenario and think, I can't be the only one in this situation. And I know I'm not. And this group, Coffee with Kelly, there's been some folks that really put their heart outside their body and released their soul, and was probably very cathartic for them. And I think therapeutic for all of us that listen to it. And this is the happiest I've ever been this past 3 to 6 months. And getting to know the Coffee with Kelly group and getting to know Kelly, what you're providing is unbelievable. And, I did not come on here with the intention of, hey, I'm going to get a job because of this. I think it's important that people understand a resume is not just a piece of paper, or the candidate is not a piece of paper. And I have been fortunate in life that I think almost every job I've ever had was a result of a relationship or someone else I knew that was able to say, hey, let me get you to this person. They didn't give me the job. They just made a connection. How hard is it to make a connection for someone? And that's what this group has been doing. It's all about connections. And I have amassed a large network of my own, and I have no problem pointing someone from point A to point B if it's going to get them the conversation that's going to help display who they are, not just get an auto response email from an ATS or never even be seen. And I know recruiters are up to their necks in alligators and they can't respond to everyone, but there is some good talent out there, and it's difficult. And I can't imagine people that don't have a network or the means to meet people, what they're going through. So I'll take a break there on speaking and make sure I answer, anything else you're looking for. But that's kind of general picture of the world right now.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up a question. Hang on one second. So, Todd, how would you help? And we've got a lot of people in the chat here. So this is Anna Longo. She's saying she's also in transition and struggling to find something. So from your perspective, and you come from human resources, so you hired a lot of people as well. You know what it's like to be on both sides of it. What advice could you give to someone right now like Anna that would potentially help them get out of the pile? I always say, you got to get out of the pile because there's thousands of people in that resume pile. So what will help them be seen to maybe get them noticed in a way that maybe worked with you in your hiring days?
Well, it's difficult during COVID, but it's getting better now. I mean, obviously physical presence is always a wonderful thing. So if you have the ability to walk into a company and be able to drop your resume off and make a presence, I'm not saying it's a guarantee of anything, but at least you're showing that you're a human being, you believe in the company, and you've gotten yourself out of your home to physically bring in your information. Putting that aside, going back to networking should not be done only when you don't have a job. That should be so deep rooted in who you are. Well, at least it is for me, because I think it's that important. Obviously I'm in human resource because I like people. I mean, that's a given. And I like to communicate with people. I like to learn about things, especially cultures that are not my own. And you just need to get out there, join associations, join networking. I can tell you one thing I did do during this time frame is that I did set up an LLC for a consulting company for myself, for HR consulting. It's not my intention to do it right now, but what I did is I took the time to recertify my certification, set up my LLC, so when I do retire or semi-retire down the road, it's ready to go. And during this time frame, I do have a handful of friends that have their own businesses. They're small. One's a dentist and a restaurant and financial services. One owns a trucking company. I have provided them, not that I'm happy to do it for free, but I have provided them free consulting during this time frame. And at the end of all those discussions, I asked them, I said, this is what I'm going to be doing eventually in life. Not now, but eventually in life. Would you pay for this? Every one of them said yes. So my point is, get out there, get in front of people that you can provide some level of service, even if it's for free, volunteering. I spend again, COVID kind of put a kibosh on a lot of things, but I did spend a lot of time on the HR advisory board for Nova Southeastern University. That's where I got my master's degree. And I believe paying it forward is very important, and I'm giving back. I have spent a lot of time presenting to students that are in the master's program or undergrad at Nova Southeastern. And those connections have helped other connections. And I think that's very important. I get calls from people from Nova asking me about presenting this or providing this. We've done mock interviews. So all that to say is, just like Kelly, you're promoting a business and you want to get out there, whether you own your own business, you are your own business. Mm-hmm. And I think it's very important to promote yourself and be a good steward and help everyone. And as you're helping people, you'd be amazed, you're really helping yourself. I mean, I think that's what happens at the end of the day. It's not the reason to do it, but it's a very important thing. And the last thing I'll tell you, I also help in the community. So I'm on the planning and zoning board for the city of Parkland. I've been doing that for about 3 years. 4 years prior to moving to Parkland, I was doing it at the city of Coconut Creek, where I lived. And the relationships I built on the government and political side has been amazing. And again, a lot of them are business owners. And one day, I don't stalk them for business, but one day I will probably come to their mind when they feel that they need some kind of service. And they ask me questions all the time. And they know what I do, and that's why they call me. And like I said, every job I've ever gotten up to this point is because of another contact or personal relationship that I've known. I've had the same boss twice, and the biggest honor was I hired her on the last opportunity as a consultant. And she's another amazing human being. And if you don't have a mentor, you should. I have multiple mentors. And if you're not mentoring people, you should. And again, all of these things are going to pull it together. And I'm comfortable knowing that eventually I will land in the right opportunity. I've got a couple things going on right now. And these are companies that I really believe in. And one of them, my son really believes in too. So if I can get the one opportunity I am looking at, that it would be a home run for my son. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh, we're saying an extra prayer for that, Todd. Seriously. So whoever that company is, please be watching this. Todd is amazing. Absolutely. Todd, now a couple of people are asking that you're struggling, and this, we hear it at Coffee with Kelly all the time. So the recruiting process takes so long and we're not getting any feedback. What if they say they're moving on, but you don't get any feedback? How do you learn what you need to do better? Like, you've experienced this, I'm sure, in your job search as well. So what advice can you give to the listeners out there?
Well, I was thinking about this, how I look at an organization and how I evaluate them. So if I'm trying, let's say, a new restaurant, one of the things I will do, and probably some people do this, is go to the restroom, look in the restroom and see how clean it is and tidy. That's going to probably be a pretty good indication on how they handle their back of shop and how do they take the everything. So in addition, recruiting restaurant, and that's, how do they handle candidates? And that's like you're dating. And if it's not good during the recruiting process, that's probably some indication that there's maybe other issues along the way. I'm not saying it 100% they are, but how do you get beyond that? I think persistence. I think there's a fine line between showing that you're really interested and making sure that you're not showing that you're desperate. Mm. But I do think you're better off being assertive versus passive. Mm. So every time I've had an interview, I follow up immediately with whoever I interviewed with, let them know, a personal note in there about something I learned in that discussion, and thank them for their time. And that should show that I'm interested and that I do have the ability to close a discussion. I think, I can't solve other companies' recruiting issues. I do have certain expectations of my own, if I'm recruiting myself for a position or my team. And at the end of the day, if you speak to somebody, such as a phone interview or a face-to-face interview, you have to close that discussion or move it along. You can't ghost somebody. That, to me, that's 100% unacceptable. And And like I said, if that's how the process goes for you in recruitment and you can't get anywhere, it's probably not the right place for you to be. And it might be inherent of other issues that you may face if you were working there. But evaluating a company, there's a lot of things I look at. I mean, I'll look at the organizational chart of the executives, and does the company really have desire to be diverse? And then you look at the organizational chart and it's not diverse. So, and if it's not, that may be okay, but do they have a plan in place to get it where they're going to be? Because like I said, this past year and a half between COVID, social injustice, political tensions, those don't stop when you walk through a work door. Those same issues come into the workplace, whether you realize it or not. And if we're not addressing those and organizations aren't helping people along, make them better, it's not going to be a great outcome down the road. All that to say is, recruitment is one of the most important, if not the most important function of an organization. So I think everyone that's on this call that is a recruiter, I think would value the fact that they want to make sure their folks close the loop when you have a candidate. Even if they're submitting to an ATS, there should be some type of automated email response to let them know they got it, and to say, if you're a match, we'll contact you, or if you don't hear from us or whatever. But I do think closing the loop, it's just a fundamental of communication.
In my experience and just working with different organizations from a leadership consulting side, I can tell you that a lot of the companies that truly say that they value people, they include that value in the recruiting process. And I think that's one of the 7 steps of the employee experience is the recruiting process. And job seekers, just take note, if you're not treated well in the recruiting process, that's a red flag there potentially. So it's something to be thinking about of how are they really living out those values in the very beginning. That's the honeymoon stage when it's supposed to be the best part of everything. But if you're not feeling that you're valued as a candidate, then what's it going to feel like when you're inside the organization? And Todd, one more thing I want to share that you brought up. I think this is a very good tip that I just heard recently from a client that was hiring a marketing executive. This person had over probably 30 face-to-face interviews for a marketing executive. Out of those 30, how many sent a thank you? What would you guess, Todd?
3, 10%?
2 people. 2 people. And I say that to all of you out there that are in transition and looking, that made the difference of who that leader chose, that made that person stand out. There was someone that had more experience, and there was someone that had great experience, but wrote that note. That was the difference maker right there. And I was actually shocked how many people don't take the time to thank the interviewer for interviewing them. And that shocked me, Todd. Honestly, it did.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was that bad, those numbers. It's just a natural part of the process, in my opinion, and it should be as a candidate. So if you heard that and you don't send thank you notes to people that interview you should. And like I said, I think it's important to have a personal item in there that you heard from them to show that you were listening and engaged.
Absolutely. So I just share that with all of you that are in that interview process. And yeah, it's an extra step, absolutely, and it's work. But it made the difference of somebody getting hired by taking that extra 5 minutes between someone that had more experience. So just sharing that with you all. So Todd, with you, as you know, we just have, a few minutes left here. And what is it that you would like people to know most about you? For that company out there that's looking for their next HR leader, what is it that you want them to know that you bring to the table that you'd like to add value to their organization? As an HR leader, I truly respect people.
And I believe the HR department is not the no department. There's so many people I've had discussions with that work in other companies, not every, but I mean, obviously there's a lot of great companies out there, but they tell me, because they know I work in HR and they know I've been a head of HR, and they tell me about their experiences all the time. And they tell me they don't get a response. They get no, it's not, can you help me? It's well, you can't do that. That's illegal, or that's whatever it may be. And that's not how I operate an HR organization. My goal for an HR organization is, number one, we're stewards of the company for the way we handle, and that's attract, onboard, hire through the entire life cycle to offboarding, to their retirement. And that's obviously a goal that you want to have. And you treat people with dignity and respect. That doesn't mean you don't tell them when they're doing a bad job, but it means you tell them when they're doing things that aren't right, and you also tell them when they are doing things well. And at the end of the day, it's communication is key. And I think that being a visible, available servant leader, if that's what you're looking for, which I think you should as an organization, I'm the person that does that. And I promote that with my team. And I have some very strong principles on what I expect from an HR team. And my mentality is that when I'm asked about something that may or may not sound right, I usually use the scale of 1 to 10 and ask them what kind of risk potential are you looking at doing, or that you can sustain. And if we get to that point where it's a 10 on the scale, then I'm probably going to go talk to legal counsel, because it's probably a really bad decision. But at the end of the day, human resources is not the decision maker. We're the guiders. We fly under the radar. We help managers manage their people. They don't work for HR unless they're HR people. They work for the organization, and our goal is to help everyone do well. And that's by getting the best possible benefits you can for the money. Make sure you take care of your folks the best you can. You know what I find really interesting that tells me a lot about an organization today is how they're handling bringing people back that were working remotely. And some of them have pulled off a Band-Aid and said, you will be back on this date. Thank you.
Yep.
And I think it should be treated no different than having the interactive process of ADA. If you know someone is at home, they've been working at home, have an individual discussion, or if you're too large, have your manager of that person have a discussion saying, what are your needs? Or do you have, if you know that your children, that they have children that are in daycare, are you able to come back? What are you comfortable? Do you have any concerns? What are your concerns? Can you do a hybrid? If you don't have those type of discussions and you just autonomously make people come back for not explaining and communicating to your workforce, that tells me a company is not really putting people first. And I think that's an important factor. But that, I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, it's how do you treat people? That's all it comes down to. And I have had a successful career working with managers that unfortunately, for some reason, don't grasp basic concepts that need to be reinforced through leadership development, training. And I think, Kelly, you put out something recently, I mentioned yesterday. It was the different generations. I think it was how do you either communicate effectively with each generation, and you went through the millennials and the baby boomers, and every one of them said the same thing. Talk to them.
Yep.
Talk to them. There are so many managers that are afraid to talk to their associates. Yep. And that's, the unknown is terrible. The unknown, people make stories up in their head, and the situation gets worse. And the longer you wait, it festers and it becomes a fire. So at the end of the day, as a human resources professionals, as a leader, whatever that issue is, my goal is to help the manager and or us solve it as fast as we can in the most respectful way. And, even terminations is a process that should be done with dignity and respect. And you can do it in the right way and not make someone feel like a, sub-employee, because they have a family too, and they're going home, and you don't know what's going to happen. So it like I said, to sum it up, it's just all about dignity and respect. And if you want a leader at the head of your function that will spread that down throughout, because that's going to affect your culture, then I'm the one you should be talking to, or people like me are the ones you should be talking to.
Mm. And I back that up, Todd, because I didn't know you before you came into Coffee with Kelly. I'd never worked with you. I, never had talked to you before, but, in the past few months where you've been a part of the tribe, you've lived out the values that you say you stand for, and you treat people with dignity and respect. And that's what really shows what a true leader is you're not just, what it says on the company website that they stand for. Like, you bring it to life in the actions of how you lead people when you're not working, and you're behind the scenes and you're taking calls for our tribe members and helping them with situations, and you're out there volunteering and giving back to the community. And I say this, and I hope whoever is listening that is looking for that next HR executive, that says a lot to me about a person. I've placed thousands of people in my career, and I know when there's a winner out there. And that's why I wanted Todd to come on and be one of my first guests, because he deserves a great place, because wherever Todd goes, it's going to just take a culture that might already be wonderful and just take it to the next level of servant leadership. So all of you out there that are watching, you all know somebody. Everybody knows somebody. Who do you know that Todd should know? Todd's here in South Florida in Parkland and would love to continue his HR career for a company that values what he brings. So Todd, what do you want to leave the group with as, a final thought of what to think about that you want them to leave in their mind as we end this?
Thank you, Kelly. Well, I think at the end of the day, for myself and everyone else that is looking for that next role, you don't give up, because and make sure you're getting out there and talking to people. Don't give up. Don't give up. And at the end of the day, my number one supporter is my wife, and I wouldn't be where I was and doing what I'm doing and being allowed to do what I'm doing without her support. So you just have to help people. It will come full circle. And I think, whether you have faith, whatever it is you believe in, work hard, get out there, don't stop moving. And that's the one thing I mentioned it to you, Kelly, too. Every day, my son doesn't know I'm not working. Every day I get up at the same time, 4:30, 5 o'clock. I go walk 3 miles in the morning. I come back, I shave, I shower, and I come to my home office and I sit in front of my computer and I work. And what does that mean? I network, I do my emails, I look at some consulting stuff, I take phone calls from my friends. You can't stop moving. Once you stop moving, you're done. So that's my advice. Don't stop moving and don't stop giving up. It will come to fruition at some point.
Absolutely. And for those of you that are in that transition, or even if you are working, we invite everybody to Coffee with Kelly. So Todd is just one of so many that we have that are serving our community and helping put other people to work. So we welcome you Mondays and Fridays from 8 to 9 on Zoom. And Todd, where can people find you? You're all over LinkedIn, right? If people want to connect.
I'm on LinkedIn, Todd Rogers. When you say Rogers, I don't think it MSCP in Florida. You'll find me.
Okay, so LinkedIn with Todd Rogers on LinkedIn. And I just appreciate you, Todd, for taking the time to be here. Guys, this was our first Coffee with a Candidate. So thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. There will be more. So stay tuned for our next guest. But we wanted to start with giving back to all of you out there that are in transition, because when we help one, we help many. And we all might say sometimes we don't have a lot of time, but we do have time to help people. We just have to be intentional about doing it. So Todd, thank you for being here, and thank you all for joining me. And Todd, because you were my guest today, you are getting an honorary Coffee with Kelly hug in a mug. So it will be shipped to you in the next few days. And I expect to see you holding it next week for coffee. Okay, Todd?
You will.
Absolutely. So Have a wonderful weekend, guys. If you're watching the replay and you have any comments in here you'd like to add or tips for Todd that he might want to check out for companies hiring, please add it in here. And let's get Todd working. Let's get him out there because companies need more Todds in the world. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you, Kelly. Bye.
Goodbye.